Welcome to Chapter 7. The Chapter 7 talks about interfaces and different types of interfaces. The computer interfaces or a device interface plays a crucial role in connecting a user with the computer or with the device. Hence, special considerations should be taken while designing the interface by taking care of how the user will interact with the device and how the device will respond back to the user. Hence, this chapter provides the various types of interfaces available. It tries to discuss and overview the different types of interfaces. It highlights the main design and the research consideration for each of the interface. We will also discuss what is meant by natural user interface. Also, this chapter tries to prescribe what type of interfaces are best for what kind of user activity or an application. 22 interface design types are covered in this chapter. That includes many that we use already in our day-to-day life. A few of them which are new, like shape changing interface is given in the slide, hologram, 3D interface is given here. And we also see there is a new type of interface which is called as tangible user interface is given here in the picture. Apart from these, we have command interfaces that we use in day-to-day life while we are working with certain applications that works with the command line interfaces. Now we will talk about each of them in detail. However, in this slide, a brief listing is given. We are using touch, pen, touchless, and mobile interfaces in day-to-day life. We have something interesting coming up like virtual reality and augmented reality. Hence, in this chapter, we are going to discuss about all these 22 interface types, their design issues and research consideration that we need to follow while we are opting or designing one of these kind. So we are going to discuss about each of them in detail. Interface types and applications. For example, the natural user interfaces, they refer to NUI, also known as NUI, NEO. This refers to the interfaces that enable users to interact with computers using their behavior, such as touching, speech, or gesture to make the computing experience more natural, as you can see here. And the graphical user interfaces, are suitable for applications that needs a visual interaction. The one that we use in our laptops is a graphical user interface where we have icons and the cursors. CLIs are preferred for scripting and automation tasks. For example, if you want to run an activity in a banking application in the night to take a backup recovery or to have a performance check, so those type of automated tasks can be greatly benefited by using the command line interfaces. A CLI stands for command line interfaces. Voice-based interfaces can be used efficiently while the user doesn't want to make use of hand and he want to go for a hands-free. For example, a driver whose hands are engaged in driving and also he want to operate with the car for example for opening the AC or opening an audio file inside the media player of the car can use a voice-based interface. Touch interfaces are ideal for mobile devices, the one that we are using almost all the days. Mm, augmented reality and virtual reality interfaces are chosen for simulations. For example, if you can see in the figure, this man is trying to work with the simulation and he's trying to simulate a device here, and then the properties of these devices are also given. So we have different types of interfaces available, and in this chapter we are going to talk about each of them in detail and find the one that suits the application in the best possible way. Command line interfaces, such as abbreviations like LS for listing, CD for changing the directory or closing the directory. They are typed at the prompt to which the system responds, for example, by listing the files. Like, for example, we have a command prompt here, and then we type a command. Okay, these commands are usually the short form of what we are trying to do. For example, if I want to list the number of files stored inside a folder, then I will say ls. Ls stands for listing. And then we have like cd for closing the directory or changing the directory. So they are like shortcuts or abbreviations of the commands. Some are hardwired at the keyboard. For example, we have a function key in the keyboard, we have control key, we have a Windows key in the keyboard, we have .com as a key in mobile phones. So some are hardwired at the keyboard while others are assigned to the key. For example, I can use for example, function F1 to do a specific task. So some of some of the task is assigned to the key. For example, function 1 till function 10 keys in our laptop, they have specific work assigned to them. The commands are efficient, precise, and faster. Okay, for example, it is easier for us to save a file by saying Control S rather than clicking on the file menu and then click on the save. Large overhead. Um, but the thing is, the user have to remember or memorize the list of commands, which makes it, bit difficult for the user. Here is an example of the command bash command, which is trying to you see here ls, we are using ls command, bash. We have here ls command to list all the files and the folders available in the directory. The research considerations of using research and the design considerations of employing the command line interface ensure advocates, or it emphasizes that the consistency should be followed. For example, always use the first letter of the command. If I want to have a command for closing the directory, so it is cd. C for close, D for directory, for example, CD. Or change the directory, right? And LS for listing. L stands for list. Okay. And then we want to list all the things inside it. So it is like LS for it. Okay. So consistency has to be maintained. This is one of the important design principle. Besides, we have some research questions like what form of the command we want, name of that job or activity, that action that the user is trying to perform, and the structure are the key questions. So using these research questions, we can understand like for what action we are trying to make a command, and then based on its name, select the first letter. Command line interfaces are popular for scripting and shared documents. For example, like we have a shared document overleaf. Okay, it's like a place wherein different people or different users can edit the document at the same time. So command interfaces are mostly used in online document editing or shared document editing. So now talking about the graphical user interface. Graphical user interface actually was brought by Xerox Star. It was the acronym for Windows icon menus and pointing devices. Almost all the computers nowadays are graphical user interface computers. Like we have icons, we have windows wherein the information is displayed. So, what is a window? It is a section of a screen that can be scrolled, stretched, overlap, open, close, and move. Like for example, this is the window. I can make it maximize it like this. I can minimize it. Icons, we know it's a pictogram that represent application objects or commands and the tools that are open when we click on them. So icons are clickable Windows can be stretched, scrolled, overlapped, open or closed. Menu is like wherein we list the number of options that can be moved or scrolled through and selected. Pointing device, we have like we have point what are the pointing devices like? We have pointing devices like mouse and cursor and up and down arrow keys in the laptop. Basically, they help us to interact with windows and icons and menus. Okay. Here is an example of the first generation graphical user interface. If you see, this is a window for creating a recurring task. So the description of the task, the notes about it, when it will start, when it will end, how many days of the week it will run, or how many weeks it will run, for example, and is it going to run every day or every month or every week. So the details are, can be given here in a form of checkboxes or buttons or list items or labels like that. Okay. Here is another example of a smartwatch. Okay, it's like a kind of a complicated display, wherein we have the whole screen divided into one, two, three parts. The first part consists of date, day, and the Earth icon. The middle is the place wherein the schedule of the user is displayed, and the bottom of the screen is occupied by different activities, bottom left, bottom right to display the temperature, bottom left to display the activity, and then in the middle the compass is there. So this is an example of an Apple watch OS watch. Complication display that include features, such as three circles, three kinds shown in the bottom line, and in line we have the upper left corner and the upper right corner to display date and other things. Windows. Now, let us talk about a window. What is a window? Windows were invented to overcome the physical constraint of a computer display. You see, the computer display can be 13 inches or 12 inches or 14 inches. It's not very big. So how to efficiently display the data on it? So if we have a Windows, each window can display part of, part of the data. I mean, windows can be made bigger or smaller or resized. Multiple windows can be opened so that we can view multiple files inside it. So they enable more information to be viewed and more tasks can be performed. I can have, for example, two, three windows open when I'm doing my work. For example, a media file is running. I know I'm listening to a song, then I'm working on my Windows, Microsoft Word document, and also I'm running a C++ program or a Java program. So, and also I'm watching a movie. So I can have multiple tasks open at the same time, and each window is responsible for doing one type of a task on it. Scroll bars will help to display more information to the user. So I can scroll up the window, read many things from there. And if the data is too large, the window can become a scrollable window so that I can go up and down and read from it. Multiple windows can make it difficult to find the desired one. So we do, we can have windows arranged in tabs, or by using thumbnails or listing technique can help here. For example, if we have 20 windows open at the same time, it will become very easy, very difficult for us to and manage these 20 windows. So hence what we can do is, when we are opening a Chrome, I can have one tab open for Blackboard, one tab open for the course, one tab open for the banner, and then I can work with it. Hence, tabbing is helping me here in this place. So similarly, we can have listing and thumbnails also to help manage multiple windows. We are talking about a favicons here. Favicons, generally pronounced as favicons. So here, the top websites which are visited in the Google creates a favicon for us. It's like a favorite icon displayed, so I can just click on one of it and start working on this particular browser window without writing. Okay, now let's talk about a scrollable window. For example, if you see selecting a country from a scrolling window, if we have, the list of countries, so if the list exhausts the display area, you see here down arrow, it will take me to, it will allow me to see the name of the country which is not getting displayed at this particular point of time. So if you see, if we have country names, there are many countries, right? And displaying all the countries at the same time is not possible. Hence, the scroll bar can help me to navigate to it. This is another way of displaying the country names, wherein we have all the countries arranged in an alphabetical order, and when you click on each letter, it will display the countries who starts with this particular letter. For example, in this slide, we are trying to list all the countries that starts with A when the user clicks on the A button. So this is one way wherein we see the scrollable list of countries, and here we see an alphabetically arranged list of countries, and the name of the country is categorized according to the letter it starts. So what do you think is better? This method is better or this method is better? And why do you think it is better? Okay. Menu styles. There are different types of menu styles which are given here. Flat list, drop down, pop up, contextual menu, and collapsible menu and mega menu. Okay. When we have to show large number of options, okay, and the same time, and the display is very small, we use a fat list. Drop down, when we have like options to show, many options to show on the same screen, for example, in a cascading drop down. We also saw this drop down here, right? Yeah, drop down list for the name of the countries, which is scrollable also. Pop up when pressed, for example, when press a command key, a relevant option comes. This is called as a pop up menu. Contextual provides access to most often used commands associated with a particular item. For example, I right click and see, for example, I can right click. Yeah, this is like a contextual menu. Can you see the contextual menu? So when you right click, yeah, this is a contextual menu. So here we are able to see only those menus that are, relevant to the display in this screen. For example, I have pointing, pointer options, and this pointer options are applicable only to this particular screen. That is why it is called as contextual menu, because it provide access to most often used commands associated with a particular item. So here the item is a slideshow, and hence when I right click and see the context menu, all things are related to the slide only. For example, next slide, previous slide, and last viewed, all the slides, magnifying glass, all the actions or things related to the presentation display is given here. Similarly, in any application, when you right click, you will see the contextual menu, which has the most often used commands associated with that particular application. Collapsible menu allows us to toggle between the icons by using plus and minus onto the header to expand or contract its contents. Mega menu is like where all the options are shown using 2D drop down layout. Let's see a look at all of, few of them. This is a collapsible menu. I have a section 2, they are all collapsed. When I click on section 1, it will expand. When I click on section 2, section 1 will get contracted and section 2 will get expanded. This is called as collapsible menu, the menus that can be collapsed or closed. Okay. uh, okay, now mega menu. A mega menu is like when you click on a particular a category, or for example, you click on garden and home, and then furniture and light. So all the possibilities or subcategories of furniture and line are displayed, and with their sub points. For example, light and furniture, so you see furniture by type, and you have furniture by room, lightning, and then we have a don't miss. So this is like a mega menu wherein you click on a menu item, all the categories of that menu item are displayed, and each category with their sub menus are displayed. This is called as mega menu. This is like a big version of menus where where you see all the possibilities available inside a particular menu item. Okay. So design and research consideration that we have to do when we are working with the Windows management are as follows. Windows enable the user to move fluidly between the different windows and the monitors. So switching the attention between windows without getting distracted is very much required. Okay. For example, if I'm working with 2 or 5 windows at the same time, then each window navigation from one point to another point should not be distracting. It should be easy and smooth. Uh, and the spacing, a design principle of spacing, grouping, and simplicity should be used. The windows should be grouped together. There should be proper spacing and simplicity. Which terms are used for menu options? For example, it is important to make use of terms. For example, if I am opening 5 windows at the same time, there will be only one active window in this particular time. So the active window is always in the front. Okay, and if I want to go and open the window that I have, that is in the first point, and I'm working on the fifth window. So fifth window is in the front, okay, and window number one is in the back. So if I want to navigate from fifth window to the first window, then I have to bring the first window in the front. So this is called as bring to front. Mega menus are easier to navigate than the drop down menus. Why do you think so? For example, in a mega menu, I can see all the sub items into a particular category and all the categories inside a menu item. This is called as a mega menu, right? So I feel always that this is the most easy menu to work with because I see all the options in the single click. Okay. And in the drop down, it's like I have to click the drop down menu, then it will open, then there will be a scroll bar. So it's difficult. So that's about the Windows management. Now let us see the icon design. How do we do the icon design? Icons are assumed to be easier to learn because the commands are difficult to learn, because if for doing each and every work we have to give a command and it is not easy to remember the commands. Hence icons are assumed to be much easier to learn than to remember. Okay, so it's commands are difficult to remember because we forget the command, right? But if an icon is there, I just click on it and it works for me. So it's easier to learn than to remember. Icons can be designed to compact and variably position on a screen. Okay, icons, like for example, I have installed many applications in my mobile phone, right? So how are these all applications open every time? No, they are closed and their icon is kept on the home screen. When I click on the click on the icon, it opens that particular application. Hence, it is easier to design and compact and variably position on the screen. Nowadays, it is also pervasive in every interface. Now, what do we mean by pervasive? For example, they represent the desktop object tools, for example, the paintbrush, and it is also used for applications. For example, a browser, I have a Chrome or a Firefox icon, and operations such as cut, paste, next, accept, and change. Okay. Okay. Xerox star, icons have changed in their look and feel nowadays. Earlier back days, they were black and white icons, but now we have color shadowing, photorealistic images, and 3D rendering, animations, and flat icons available. Many are designed to be very detailed and they are also animated, making them both visually attractive and informative. Can be highly intuitive, emotional appealing can be there with emotional appealing can be associated with the icons and feel alive. For example, icon forms, there are 3 icon forms. The icon forms that are categorized as similar, analogical, and arbitrary. Mapping between the representation of underlying referent can be similar. For example, if I want to represent a file, then I can go for a similar icon form. For example, here word file icon, like a picture of a file to represent the file object, picture of a printer to represent a printer object. This is called as a similar form. We said here, right? The forms are important when we are designing for uh designing issues for commands. The form is important. So actually, the form of icons are given in three categories: similar, analogical, and arbitrary. Similar icons are like the picture of a file, a picture of something to represent a real object, or a computer object. For example, a file icon to have a word file icon to represent a word file. Similarly, a printer icon to represent a printer, a camera icon to represent a camera. Analogical. Now the second type is analogical. For example, a picture of a pair of scissors to represent cut. Okay. And arbitrary, analogical is like, with the action, action is represented with a picture of it to represent a real action in the computer. For example, if you want to cut something, cut a text, then you have a scissor picture to cut it. Make the cut operation on it. For example, arbitrary, such as the use of an X to represent delete. For example, if I want to delete a file, then I see X on it. Delete a file, like a file with an X on it. The most effective icons are similar ones, because this is easier, because it represents what it is trying to, it is having a small miniature picture of what it is trying to do. So similar is the most effective icon. Many operations, including many operations, like for example, if we want to cutting is an operation, right? Cutting a text is an operation. So if you are trying to have, trying to represent many actions, it becomes difficult for one icon to represent many actions. Hence, use a combination of objects and symbols that capture the important part of an action. For example, cutting. Here we cut the text or the image, or crop the image. We have a Caesar to do that. Okay, so we might use a combination of objects and symbols that capture a salient feature. For example, here, delete file. File is a separate icon. Deleting X or cross is a delete operation. So when I have a delete operation on the file, it becomes a file delete operation, right? So use a combination of objects and symbols that capture the important part of an action, not all the parts of the action. Okay, two types of Apple Aqua icon styles are given here, if you see, for your reference. Okay, a flat 2D icons for a smartphone is given here. Different smartphone icons are given here, and this is related to the Wi-Fi smartwatch. Now, the activity that you have to do is you have to sketch a simple icon to represent a turn image 90 degrees sideways, okay, a crop image, auto enhance the image, okay, and show them to someone else and see if they can understand what thing is being represented, okay. uh, an activity is open here, a space is open here to complete this activity and submit it in the blackboard, okay, and the last date is also given there, kindly refer. Here we are talking about basic edit icons that appear on an iPhone, which helps in cropping, or using different lens, or auto enhance, or providing exposure levels and brilliance. How is it done? You see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 icons here, and we are trying to do, different jobs with them. Cropping the box with extended lines. Where is the cropping? This is cropping. The cropping with, a box with an extended lines, indicating that we want to crop an image. The three overlapping windows, overlapping windows represent different lenses that can be used. A wand, this is a wand, magic wand, we say here. For example, it is used for auto enhancing. The circles with a plus and minus, the circles with plus and minus here. The circle with plus and minus refers to the exposure levels. You can like zoom in and zoom out. The circle to the right of it with the simplified yin yang symbol refers to the brilliance level. So this is like a brilliance level. Now let's see the research and the design consideration that has to be taken care with the icons. There is a wealth of resource of creating icons. We have to follow certain guidelines, style guides, icon builders, libraries, and online tutorials. If you have a small icon set, okay, using a text label can be very helpful to identify the small icon set. For example, when I keep my cursor on, a particular icon, a tooltip can come up. So tooltip is nothing but a text label. For large icons, we can use a hover function. For example, we have photo editing or word processing. Okay, then we can have a hover on it and then we can read about it, or we can start using it. Okay.